Welcome everyone. Today's topic is the quickest way for you to analyze deals. So I'm gonna do something different today. I'm gonna give you an incredible secret that it took us 2.5 years to discover, to analyze deals in seconds. And also we're gonna keep these, I'm gonna give you everything in 17 minutes. This is based on the TED Talks. After 17 minutes, our brain cells start to get tired. So after 17 minutes, we're going to go into examples, we're going to go into Q&A, but to begin with, I want your full attention, and we're going to keep it very simple. So let's begin. How do you analyze deals in seconds? Very simple. So I'm going to give you the 3 things that you need to keep in mind to analyze deals in seconds, and this is how the pros do it, okay? So the first thing that we are going to do is understand what the area supports, okay? Rentals, then we're gonna do location, and number 3, $100 spread. Okay, and Rehab. Okay, so I just wrote everything down. We're gonna quickly go over that. So these are the 3 points that you need to focus, you need to understand, and you don't need a calculator, you don't need anything, not even a computer, nothing, not even your cell phone to come up with these analysis, especially number 3. So number 1, and these are some of the mistakes that people make when analyzing deals. They start to focus on the numbers, on the property. They try to find out the ARV. They try to pull comps. They want to understand how much the rehab is going to be before they even think location, and even before they understand the area. So when you get into real estate, you have to understand what your exit strategy is going to be. You only have 3 exits. So you have flips, rentals, and wholesales, okay? So the first thing that you need to understand is, what are you going to do with your exit strategies? Are you gonna focus on flips, rentals, or are you gonna do wholesales? Because guess what? Every area supports different exit strategies. There are flipping markets and there are rental markets. So you've got to understand, like, we're focusing on rentals, right? There are some markets that do not support rentals. So what does that mean? Why would you care? What's the big difference between a market that supports flips and rentals? There's a huge difference. When we first bought our supposedly flip, guess what? We bought it in a rental market. So when we put it on the market, first of all, we overpaid for the property. We went over budget for the rehab, and it was a rental market, but yet we tried to do a flip. So the property sat in the market for 4 months. We could not sell the property, okay? So we ended up renting the property up until today, does not cash flow. So that's what the problem is when you try to do a rental on a flipping market, or vice versa. Flipping market, what's a flipping market? Okay, a flipping market is where the property sells super fast, okay? There's a great demand and low supply, okay? So properties move super fast. So typically these properties stay in the market for less than 2 months, okay? So less than 2 months. Now, what's a great rental market? A great rental market is where you can buy a property for less than $200,000, okay? And the rents are over $1,800. So that's a great rental market and a great flipping market, okay? So you want to maximize your return, minimize your risk. So once you understand what you're gonna do, then you focus on those markets. The second thing that you need to pay attention, location. Many investors get into properties that are not in a great location. What we mean by that is you need to be aware of busy streets, cemetery, rivers, floodplains, train tracks, near airports. Those are factors that are going to negatively affect the property value. Not only that, but if you want to do a flip, that's going to totally affect the market value of your property. For a rental, it may not affect as much, right? Because renters are not going to be as picky as buyers. So location is very critical. You want to be in a quiet neighborhood, in a quiet street. Ideally, on the location and the area, right now, due to the pandemic, you want to focus on B areas. It could be B plus, B minus, A minus neighborhoods, okay? Now, you can even focus on C plus. Right now, we are staying away from C minus and D areas, okay? The reason why is because those two areas were affected the most with the pandemic. These people got laid off, and guess what? You may not get collectible tenants. You may not command top dollars for your flips. Whereas C plus, B minus, and A minus, those people still get to work remotely from home. So they were affected by the pandemic, but not as much as in distressed neighborhoods. So something to just be aware of if you're going to go into distressed neighborhoods, that you may end up with a very long vacancy. You may not have collectible tenants, or you might not be able to command top dollars for your flip. So just be cautious of it. Personally, we just want to play it safe and focus on B and A neighborhoods. A minus, okay? A plus, forget it, because the numbers are not going to work. So again, these are the two factors that most investors disregard when analyzing the property, okay? You need to understand the area and the location, super important. Now, when it comes to analyzing the property, that's where most of us freeze, right? Whoa, how much should I pay for the property? How much is it going to price for it? How much am I going to put in the property? So all these questions, right, that come to mind. Well, let me tell you the secret that took us 2.5 years. You need to have a spread of, would say, $80,000 to $100,000 between what you pay for the property and what the property appraises for, and the rehab should be less than $50,000. The sweet spot, as I mentioned earlier, needs to be below $200,000. Okay, so the purchase price should always be below $200,000. Therefore, the appraisal value, so this is going to be purchase, okay? And appraisal value obviously is going to be over 200,000, okay, for the ARV. So you just need to add 100,000, 80 to 100,000. That's what's going to make a successful home run deal, okay? When you have this spread, that is the key for a home run deal. And guess what? When you meet these criteria, then you're going to be able to do a successful flip or a successful rental. That's simple. Even if the market may not support your flip, when you have such a big spread, guess what? You have a lot of leeway to do either a flip and a rental. But obviously, it totally helps tremendously if the market supports your exit strategy. So let me give you an example on this analysis. Very simple. So the last property that we rented in Elmwood Park, which I talked about yesterday, we bought it for, so I'm going to focus on number 3, okay? Because I want to make sure that you analyze the deals super fast, okay? So the property in Elmwood Park. So first of all, I see Elmwood Park. Elmwood Park, it's a B plus neighborhood. I like that. So I focus on number 1. And then I need to understand, does Elmwood Park support flips or rentals? Guess what? It supports both. You can do a flip and a rental in Elmwood Park. So that's great. Now, location, number 2 factor. Is the property in a quiet street? Yes. Okay, so location is good. Okay, so it's nowhere near busy streets, train tracks, cemeteries, floodplains, airplanes, none of that. And number 3, I want to know the purchase price. So this is an REO, bank-owned property. So the bank was selling the property for $150,000. okay? So even before looking at the property, the only thing that I need to know is, will this property appraise for 250? That's my first question. Okay, so that should be your first question. When you know the asking price, 150, or when it's on the MLS or whether it's off market, you need to know whether it's going to appraise for at least 100,000 more. So all the properties that are 3-bedroom, this happens to be a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. They range in the price range of 270, okay? 270. So it took me seconds in DealVault to pull comps for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Elmwood Park, and sure enough, most of the properties sold for about 270 to 290, okay, depending on the rehab, but they were already rehabbed, okay? So these are truly comps for ARV, after repair values. So I was very confident that this could be a great deal if we met the second criteria. So the second question is, so that's the first question. The second question is, will the rehab be below 50,000? Okay, that's the second question you should ask. Because guess what? If the rehab is a gut rehab where you need to do everything, it's not going to be 50,000. It's going to be 70, 80, 90, 100, right? So if it's a gut rehab, it's not a good deal, right? So I drove by the property. I peeked through the windows because I didn't have access to the property. It was not a gut rehab, okay? I noticed the windows needed to be replaced, some of them, or we did all of them. So I knew that we needed to do bathroom and kitchen. So right off the bat, the rehab was going to be no less than 40,000, okay? When you need to do kitchen and bathroom in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, so a 3-bedroom, 2-bath will be about 1,700 square feet, okay? So the rule of thumb that we have is we multiply the square footage times 2. So my thinking was the rehab is going to be 34,000 plus I always add a cushion of about 10,000. So I said the rehab is going to be somewhere in the 40s, mid 40s. It ended up being actually $49,000 for the rehab because we had to replace all the windows. Okay, so the first criteria is, do you have to update the kitchen and the bathroom? And if the answer is yes, it's a medium rehab by default. Medium rehab on a small 3-bedroom, 2-bath, you're hitting the 30s, 30,000, plus the 10,000 cushion that you always have to add, then it brings it to 40,000, between 40 to 50,000, which is the limit. The second question that you need to ask, will this rehab take less than 50,000? And the answer was yes. So it was immediate that we got it on the contract. So we didn't need to move any further because the property was at a good price, 150. The rehab was going to be less than 50. And we knew that by putting some comps in the neighborhood, it would appraise for over 250, okay? And the third and very important factor is that the property was vacant. So the property vacant. So that's question number 3. Okay, you don't want to buy properties that are occupied unless you do a cash for keys agreement with the occupant. Okay, otherwise you're going to struggle with funding. Not only that, even if you were to pay cash for it, you won't take possession of the property. They could vandalize it with the eviction moratorium. There's no time that you're going to take the property in your possession anytime soon. So these are the 3 factors that you need to understand. Do I have a $100,000 spread? Will the rehab be less than 50,000? And is the property vacant? It is that simple. When you meet that criteria, boom, the numbers are going to work tremendously well. So in this case, so the real numbers were 150 purchase price, that didn't change. The ARV, so the appraisal after we've done all the rehab, ended up being 280. The property appraised for 280, and the rehab ended up being 49,000. Okay, so as you can see, all in 150 plus 49, let's make it 200,000. It appraised for 280. So we ended up with $80,000 in equity, which is about like 35%. So very, very, very good deal. Another example is, let me just delete this example. Let's go over another property. And in fact, before we move on to the next property, I'm gonna share my screen and show you the pictures of this property that I just talked about. Okay, so let me share my screen. And it's right here. So let's look at the property. This is the Elmwood Park property, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And the kitchen, brand new kitchen. Brand new bathroom on the first floor. So when you look at a property, friends, the first 2 rooms that you have to look at are the kitchen and the bathroom. If you need to redo them, then that's a medium rehab. So right away, if the property is under 2,000 square feet, you are looking between 35 to 45,000 rehab. That includes a $10,000 cushion. This is the second bathroom on the second floor. It was very cosmetic, just the vanity, the light fixtures. And then the hardwood floors on the first floor, we just sanded, varnished, finished the floor. Light fixtures, they were as is. That's the porch in the back. This is the second floor. We put carpet. So for carpet, we spent about $1,800 for the carpet. So this is the second bedroom on the second floor. This is the living area, dining area on the first floor. And this is the basement. It's unfinished. We just painted the basement, fixed few cracks, put new laundry, and this is the backyard. It does not have a garage. And this property appraised for 280. Okay, so now let me give you another example so that this is very clear for you as to how you need to analyze deals. Second use case is Mount Prospect. Mount Prospect. Okay, so Mount Prospect, it's an A- neighborhood. Okay, I like that. Now, does it support flips or rentals? It supports both. Okay, so that's great for the area. Location, the property is on a busy street. Okay, Elmhurst Road. So that's sort of like a negative. So busy street. Busy street. That is not ideal because it's a 4-lane street. Okay, so that was the only negative thing. The second thing, now we move on to the price. Purchase price, $160,000. Okay, this is an REO, again, banked-on property. So getting a property for less than $200,000 in an A- neighborhood, it's extremely hard. And it's a 3-bedroom, again, 2-bath, brick home. So when I saw the number 160, to me was, boy, Mount Prospect is an A+ neighborhood. I'm sure it's a go rehab. Okay, so my criteria, my second thing, my thinking was, okay, purchase price 160, it better appraise for at least 260. To me, was going to be like a no-brainer. I mean, 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Mount Prospect should appraise close to 300,000. Okay, and it's got a 1-car attached garage. It's got a basement, finished basement. So the rehab, my next question, which is, the first one is, do we have the spread? Yes. Spread of 100,000 for sure. My second concern, will the rehab be less than 50,000? Okay, so that's the second question. And guess what? We checked the property. The back door happened to be open. So our runner went inside the property, took a video, and the rehab was going to be somewhere in the 40,000. Okay, so obviously less than 50,000. So it was thumbs up. And the last thing was, so we have the spread, the rehab, 40,000. That's it, right? So those are the only 2 criteria that we need to take into account. So the real numbers were 160 purchase price, rehab ended up being 37,000 and it appraised for 280. So think about the numbers. It's 197, again, like 200,000 all in. It appraised for 280. So we ended up with 35% equity, okay, or 80,000 in equity on this property, and it's in an A- neighborhood. Okay, so when you have this spread, when you follow these steps, it doesn't matter what exit strategy you want to do. You could do a flip, you could do a rental, but obviously if the market supports that particular exit strategy, you're going to be in really good shape. Okay, but this is the criteria. Remember, the $80,000 to $100,000 spread is super critical. Now you can play between 80 to 100,000 depending on the rehab. If the rehab is light, you don't need $100,000 spread. You may need $80,000 spread. So you can play with that. Okay, so that is the example of Man Prospect. And I can give you another one. So the property in Cicero, okay? So purchase price 130. I just want you to understand the hang of it. So my first thinking is, will it appraise for over 230? Okay, 230. And the answer was yes, it appraised for 235. Okay, now will the rehab be less than 50,000? Less than 50,000? The answer was yes. It ended up being 16,000 for the rehab. That was like mind blowing. So all in 130 plus 16, you're like 150. Okay, all in. I need a price for 235. 85,000 in equity. Okay, so that is close to 40% equity. So again, this was a home run deal. Cicero is a C plus neighborhood. Okay, this ended up being a rental, and Cicero supports rentals for sure. It's a cash flow neighborhood. So all the criteria that I just mentioned, you must follow in that sequence. Understand the area, location, this is again in a quiet street, and the numbers. Do you have the $80,000 to $100,000 spread from the purchase price to the ARV? Will the rehab be less than 50,000? Okay, so in this property, let me tell you, before we got it on the contract, we sent the runner. He took a video outside. They told me, Hugo, it's in really good shape. I cannot see the property, but the kitchen looks really nice. So I was able to look at some previous listings, and they had done all the bells and whistles like 3-4 years ago. So in my mind was the rehab shouldn't be extensive because it's just wear and tear in the last 2-3 years. So by looking at the video from the outside, I was thinking like more like 35,000 for the rehab, but we were so lucky, just needed like paint. We had to fix some doors, and it was very, 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 very lucky because typically my concern on this property was the square footage. It was 1,800 square feet. So if we multiply this by 2, that's 36,000 plus the 10,000 cushion. That puts us at 46,000 for the rehab. We were extremely lucky on this. Again, this is a Bankton property, REO. Okay, so I just want you to get the hang of analyzing deals in seconds. So you don't need a calculator or anything. You just need to understand, will the property appraise for 100,000 more? And then you can look at comps, similar comps that are selling in that neighborhood. So you can go to Realtor, Zillow, ChicagoDealVault, just to understand what those properties are selling for on the market that have been rehabbed. Does that make sense? So I just want to give you this secret that it took us so long to understand. And this is where I see people freezing, right? So make sure that you watch yesterday's replay because we went in a lot of depth on the rehab, okay? In fact, what we're going to give you today, we're going to give you a one-sheet, a one-pager document that is going to help you come up with a very accurate rehab scope, okay? Because we have each area like mechanicals, plumbing, electric, and how much each of them are. So you just check them off, and then you'll see how much that's going to cost. But just as a rule of thumb, just to keep things simple, take the square footage, multiply that by 2, and add 10,000. Very simple. That has worked incredibly well if the neighborhood is B or C, and if obviously it's not a gut rehab. That's the key. We tend to stay away from gut rehabs because that's not where the money is. The money is in doing multiple deals, taking light to medium rehabs. The money is not in the rehab. Okay, are there any questions on the line? I wanted to give you all the information that you need to know right away so that next time that you look at a property, and if you have some properties that you want us to analyze, we can just analyze them right now on the fly. We can analyze them pretty much in a minute or so, very accurately. Okay, let's take some questions now. So would you consider Broadview a C plus neighborhood? You know, we had a property in Broadview that fell through the cracks. Broadview, it's to me, it's like a B minus, but all I need to do is, let me share my screen, because it's impossible for you to know all the areas. So when you log on to ChicagoDealVault, you're going to go to area reports and then look at Broadview. Okay, we have over 300 areas. Okay, Broadview, it's a C neighborhood. Livability score is 67, so it's in the borderline. B minus starts with a livability score of 70 and up. So I'm gonna write this down because that's super important. So location. So livability score of over 70, it's a B minus. Okay. In this case, Broadview is 67, so it's in the borderline. I would consider this a C plus B minus neighborhood. Okay. And something really cool that we have in ChicagoDealVault is that you can understand, you can see pockets. So let me give you an example. Now that you mentioned Broadview, I'm gonna look for a property in Broadview on their off-market pre-foreclosures, and I'm gonna show you. This is really cool. It's an integration that we have with Trulia. Okay, so you're gonna be able to understand pockets. Okay, so I pull up a lot of properties in Broadview. I'm gonna randomly select one of them. Okay, so this property, and then I'm gonna scroll down. We have a tab called Market Overview. In here, we integrated with Trulia, and Trulia has something really cool. It's called a heat map. So I scroll down and I look on crime. And in here, it's going to pull up the heat map, which is super powerful, because here you're gonna be able to identify pockets. Okay, so as you can see, the light blue means it's a safe area, but when you get into the dark blue, that means it's not good. And sometimes I've seen like squares within a really nice area, there's like a couple of blocks that are not so safe. Okay, so it's super powerful. I encourage you to always use this feature. It's called Market Overview, that it integrates with Trulia automatically for you. So great question, Broadview. It's a great rental, okay, neighborhood. Now let's go to the next question. Would you consider Broadview? Okay, that was the question. Here, do you look at median sales price or average sales price in the area when you analyze a property? Great question, Nicole. You always need to look at the median sales price. You never look at the average. Okay, this is super important. There's a huge difference between the average and the median. So I will explain this right here. Okay, so let me give an example. 70K, 300K, 200, 198, 175. So let's assume in a neighborhood you have 5 properties. Okay, One is 70,000, the other one is 300,000, and most of them are in the ballpark of 200,000. So here you have a 70K, you have a 300, and most of the properties are in the middle. So when you compute the average, guess what? The average is going to take into account the outliers. So you're going to take into account the 70 and the 300. So guess what? It's going to throw off your numbers completely. Do the average, add up 200, all these 200,000 plus the 300 plus the 70, do the average divided by 5, it's going to be totally off. So that is why you never want to use the average. So I'm going to cross this off. Never use the average. You always want to use the median. Okay? So what the median does is, it's not the average. The median will eliminate the outliers. Okay? So when you use the median sales price, it's just going to take into account the cluster of the majority of the property. So you always want to use the median, never use the average. Okay, super, super important. So great question, Nicole. So when we look at comps, we are going to eliminate the outliers. So we obviously do the median. So ChicagoDealVault, when you pull the comps in seconds, you just eliminate or uncheck the outliers, and boom, it computes the median of the remaining properties. So great question, Nicole. I'm glad you brought that up. Another question is, do you recommend putting an inspection clause on the contract to inspect the property careful? If you are not sure about all the rehab details and to avoid any surprises and deal breakers, and do you recommend having an experienced inspector if you are not very experienced yourself? So Ralph, great question. Always, well, not always. So let me tell you. Let me remove these. You have two kinds of properties. You have MLS, and then you have off-market. Okay. Most of the great deals are going to be off-market. These properties are technically not for sale. Example, probates, pre-foreclosures, upcoming auctions, bank-owned properties or REO, vacant properties, okay, wholesale deals. This is where you're gonna find the $80,000 to $100,000 spread. MLS properties are on the market. Everyone sees these properties. The profit spread is not as big, it's more competitive. So guess what? When you make an offer on MLS properties, you will by default have a 5-day attorney's review and inspection contingency. So you have 5 business days to do your attorney review and inspection. So you can bring a professional inspector to look at the property, find major issues, and boom, you can get out of the contract, cancel it if you find major issues. However, when you're buying off-market properties, okay, like the examples that I talked about earlier that I show you, those are REOs, okay? Or when you buy wholesale deals, guess what? You're buying properties as is. They're distressed, but you're getting them for a great deal. So when you look at these properties, my suggestion is to always bring a contractor with you to look at the property, okay? Because they're gonna know more than you do. You don't need to bring an inspector because an inspector needs 2-3 hours to go through the entire property. So you just need to bring a contractor and tell him, find me the big ticket items. I mean, how much is this gonna cost to rehab, to repair everything and put it in a very nice shape, right? Because guess what? You buy properties as is. So you won't have time to inspect the property and back out of the deal. When you buy off-market properties, you buy what you see is what you get, okay? It's as is, so you better do your due diligence. But you know, you're compensated by having that such a big spread, okay? That is why the rehab is going to run somewhere in the 30 to 40,000 for most 1,700 square feet properties, which are 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Okay, so you will not have that contingency of inspection. Once you sign the contract, there's no way back. So when do your due diligence, make sure it's not a go rehab. So that is why that's our requirement. If it's a go rehab, we're running away. Forget it. Too many cancer worms to deal with. That is why stay away from them. So great question, Ralph. Another question is, can you give the numbers again for the rehab for the wholesale? Okay, so the numbers, let's talk about the numbers again for the rehab. I'm gonna pull that up on the screen so that I can give you this slide. You guys have to take a picture of. Okay, this is worth $1 million. Check this out. I love this slide. Okay, so here, boom. Okay, so you have the 3 different types of rehab: light, medium, and heavy or go rehab. And then you have the property sizes. So you have less than 1,500. Those are small, perhaps 3-bedroom or 2-bedroom, 1-bath. And then you have the 3-bedroom, 2-bath or 4-bedroom, 2-bath. They range between 1,500 to 2,500 square feet. And then you have the really big houses, right? You want to focus on properties below 2,500 square feet for sure, and you want to focus on the light to medium rehab. So this is what's going to cost you to rehab a property that size in a BC neighborhood, okay? Not in an A neighborhood, okay? And then to these numbers, you've got to add a $10,000 cushion. So if we're telling you that the average rehab is going to be $35,000 for about a $2,000 square feet property, you need to add $10,000 to that. So it's going to run you $45,000 right off the bat. Okay. When you open up a property, even if it's a very light rehab, paint and flooring, guess what? You're going to spend at least $15,000. Okay. 15,000 right off the bat. So always have a cushion. For the light rehab, we have a cushion of 5,000. For the medium rehab, we have a cushion of 10,000. So super important. This is our secret formula. Make sure that you take a picture. Super important. Okay, to understand how much it's going to run you for. Okay. So great question, Ralph. Great question, Alex. So make sure that you focus on properties that take small to medium rehab. And you know what I like to say, and this is what I said yesterday, that think about these as dealerships, right? How do they make money in the trade of cars? I mean, they buy good quality cars that need very little repair, right? They just do a little bit and they put a great markup. Do you think car dealerships buy properties in junkyards and they spend months fixing them up and then putting them on the market? Of course not, because that's not where the money is. They want to buy volume, do a little bit of work, and sell them on their parking lot ASAP, right? It's the same in real estate, right? Think about that. They never buy properties from junkyards. It's just not economically feasible. Time-wise, money-wise, the same applies for real estate. People who have done go rehabs, that has been the beginning and the end of their real estate career, okay? And that's pretty sad, right? And even people who have a lot of experience in construction, they may have a construction company. Now they choose not to do go rehabs, not because they don't have the skill set, the resources, because it's very risky, time consuming, and that's not where the money is. Instead of spending 8-9 months on a project, you rather do 5 deals in smaller projects that take less time on the rehab. Does that make sense? Therefore, please focus on light to medium rehabs. Run away from go rehabs. So what we mean by go rehabs, you need to change new electric, new plumbing, new windows, new roof, new HVAC. You may need to do duct work. So stay away from all of that, because you're gonna need to deal with the village permits, licensed electricians, licensed plumbers, permits for windows, permit for roof, permit for porches, permit for fences. You need architectural drawings. You're going to have rough inspections for plumbing, electric, finish inspections for electric, for plumbing, building inspections, the whole 9 yards. So please do not open 10,000 cans of worms. Keep it simple, okay? That's where the money is. Think how the dealerships work on vehicles, right? They make money on the trading, right? When you sell them your car, guess what? They made money right there. Okay, they're not going to lose money, and they're going to make money again on the property when they on the vehicle when they sell it. The same is in real estate. The minute you get a great deal on the contract, you already made money, and when you sell it, you will just monetize that spread, right? Or when you rent it. So super important. Stay away from go rehabs. Are there any other questions? Questions are really, really good, okay? And they are super important. Please don't be shy. Either unmute yourself or post them through the chat, because that's how we all learn. But again, I want to summarize what you need to focus on, okay? So number one, you've got to understand the area. What does the area support? Will it support my flips, okay, or not? So when you go to the area reports, okay, all you need to know is right here, I'm showing on the screen, the first column is the area, second the county, third the area type. So here is C, and then approach, cash flow approach. So that means it supports rentals. The second thing is the location of the property. Okay, location is super, super important. Make sure that you stay away from busy streets, highways, cemeteries, floodplains, super important location. Now, when it comes to analyzing the deal, okay, so remember, you need $100,000 spread from the price you pay for it to the ARV. You need $100,000 spread, and the rehab should be less than 50,000, okay? And the sweet spot to buy should be less than 200,000, okay? Super important. Less than 200,000 purchase price, it will obviously appraise for over 200,000. You'll have at least $80,000 to $100,000 spread, and the rehab is less than 50,000. That pretty much summarizes how you can analyze deals in seconds. If you don't know the area, that's okay. Log on to DealVault. We have over 300 areas. And you know what? We're going to do something really cool. For those of you who stayed in the webinar, I'm going to give you two things. Please send us an email to support@chicagodealvault.com and request the top flipping and rental markets. We have a spreadsheet that tells you where you need to do your flips and where you need to do your rentals. And the second document that we're going to give you is a one-page document that helps you analyze your scope of work in minutes, okay? It's going to have all the categories, electric, plumbing, HVAC, and so forth, what the item is and how much it's going to be for labor and material. So it's super, super easy to use. We also have it obviously in Chicago Deal Vault. I'll show you where that is. Every single property on Chicago Deal Vault has a scope of work right here, a rehab estimator. So if I scroll down, there's a rehab estimator right here. Very, very simple. Each category is shown right there, and you'll be able to come up with your scope of work very accurately. But we can also give you a one-pager so that when you're on the field, you can just fill that out. Super, super easy. Are there any other questions? Are there any other questions on the line that I can help you? Are there any other questions? Questions are great. So thank you very much for your support, Phil. Friends, we're going to give you 30-day free trial to Chicago Deal Vault. The promo code is ANALYZE. Okay, 30 days for free. When you sign up, if you could please send instructions with the promo code ANALYZE. So you'll get 30 days unlimited training one-on-one. Okay, my assistant happens to be
Hold on.
Behind me, she happened to turn the disco lights because we do karaoke here. So Gigi, you want to say hi?
Can you patch it or
Yeah.
no?
On the card, they can patch it. But
Yeah, she's starting the party while I'm doing the presentation. Great job, Gigi. I love you. Are there any other questions, guys? Thank you. She's 2 years old, and the baby's joining the party. Hello. The baby ran away. Okay, friends. So, are there any other questions on the line? So you can feel free to unmute your. She wants to color on the blackboard. So Gigi, go for it. Take over the presentation. The topic is analyze deals in seconds. Okay. Thank you, everyone.